There's something powerful about the journey of leadership, the daily steps, the long-term vision, and everything we learn along the way. Welcome to Leadership Labs, where we explore these journeys with the incredible leaders of Aurora Public Schools. In each episode, we hear from those who are helping guide our district toward Destination APS, sharing their stories, their challenges, and the lessons they've learned along the way. Today, we're joined by Kurtis Quig, principal of Aurora Central High School. I think you're wrapping up your fourth year as principal at Central. And last month brought historic news that for the first time in more than 15 years, Aurora Central earned an improvement status on the Colorado School Performance Framework. Kurtis sent out a letter to families and to the community letting them know. And in his note, he said, good, better, best. And this milestone really represents years of hard work, commitment, and perseverance. So let's explore the journey that got you all here and where y'all are headed next. Kurtis, welcome to Leadership Labs. Tell us a little bit about who you are and what makes the Aurora Central community so special.
Yeah, I started in the late 90s here in Aurora Public Schools, right? Early 2000, late 90s. And there was something, I lived in North Dakota and taught there for a while, and I knew I could just stand and deliver. Life was great as a teacher. And then I came to Aurora Public Schools and something caught me, right? This reality of, man, this group of students is amazing. And they have so many assets to bring to the table that people don't tap into. And so I found out, man, this is where I want to be. So North Middle School in North Aurora is where I stayed. I became an assistant principal after teaching, went to Denver Public Schools for 5 years or so and led a school there and then came back. And there's something about the Aurora Central community. There are several parents that I taught currently in that community, right? And so I just value that, right? They see me and they know what I'm about. And so what's drawn me to Central is, well, there's lots of things. One being that group of students. This isn't about going to save a group of kids or the staff. That's not what this is. This is about like taking the great work that's already put in place and just uplifting it and like targeting specifically what we're going to do to impact kids. So I knew that I needed to be at Central. And so this is a milestone that you just talked about before, right? And so since 2010, we haven't broke that level, and so we have now, and so we're really excited about what we bring to the table. I'm glad I could just be a part of it.
That's amazing. Thank you for sharing that. Quick question, just for curiosity purposes, what did you teach at North?
So I was a social studies teacher, and I did lots of humanities. There was lots of text-dependent questions and lots of text that was going on in there.
Ahead of your time.
Oh yeah, I love it. I love it there.
Cool. Had the chance to see you and some of your students at the Science and Engineering Fair over the weekend, and it was neat talking with Ed.D and Tukan, and they both shared with me that they had gone to middle school at North, and so it was cool. They were sharing how's ninth grade going, and they're loving it. Really excited about the opportunities they have there. I don't know how they did.
They got first place.
I'm good.
They got first place. Yeah, they came up with a great system, and they had the bumpers, and they're not going to stop there, right? So I think that's what's so great about Aurora Central is that we get kids that are excited about something, whatever that is, and we tap into that. And so these kids, they wanted to make some changes, and they're going to call Nissan, they're going to call Toyota, and they're going to pitch their idea.
Totally. I mean, they were pitching to me. They were talking about currently that this isn't like new technology that they invented, but what they've learned is that we don't use the best technology, the safest technology for bumpers because it's too expensive to build. And so they were selling me on it, saying, but people have all of these extra features with their screens on in their car and their
seat warmer. And they're like, why spend that money on the bumper?
That's right.
Save people's lives.
That's right.
That's great.
That's cool. Congratulations to that team.
I agree.
So my first question is really just to learn a little bit more about you. What first drew you to education? So you're talking about, did you say South Dakota?
North Dakota.
North Dakota. What first drew you to education? And then, how did you end up becoming a school leader?
Yeah, so the old cliche of, my family, we're all educators, but my mom had an in-home daycare. And she didn't call it a daycare, she called it a preschool, right? And
Uh-huh.
so as much as I would love to sit here and say I loved every minute of that, I can't. I
Yeah.
hated every minute of having all those daycare kids, and I'm a high schooler, a middle schooler,
At work.
at
Yeah.
work, yeah, and here every time I came home, it was all about this group of students and kids that are sitting in there. So initially, it drew me far away from education, but once I got out of it, went into college. I finally realized that, oh my gosh, the biggest passion that my mom had, and not just passion, but strengths around, she could get any kid to do anything at any time. And so she just modeled the way for me. And so I think that was a huge piece for me is hearing from my mother as she modeled, you can make changes bigger than just in your day-to-day operation. And so it just led me to education. And then when I started, I was, like I said, in North Dakota, and stand and deliver. I was coaching for sports. I was all in. And so I figured out, oh my gosh, this reality of, wow, you can have a major impact, right? And the quote we use at our house as often is, don't wait for things to happen to you. You got to make those things happen. And so I realized teaching middle school that, oh my gosh, I can have a bigger
Yeah.
influence. And so that's what brought me to leadership in multiple different ways and a different pathway too.
So you taught at middle school, and I know you've been a school leader at the middle school level as well. What helped you to realize, or what moment did you realize that you wanted to lead a high school?
It's crazy because I was actually trained elementary, then taught middle school, and then I led a school at DPS, Denver West, right? And so I led the middle school. So I got to see the 612 trajectory, and that sparked up a lot of things in my mind around access opportunities. At that middle school, I saw kids that they were already breaking the barrier of test scores and engagement around certain things. And I thought, we have to do a better job, right, at entering in quickly at the high school level to get kids into concurrent enrollment, get kids engaged in CTE, get kids engaged in just the climate of the school and the culture of the school. That's what drew me to Central and high school leadership in general. I have to be honest though, man, that content at the high school level, right, in comparison to middle school and high school is a challenge for me, right? And so walking into a trig classroom, right, and one that
Especially as a social
especially as a social study. No, that's true, right? And so that has been a challenge
Yeah.
for me, but I knew that I could set up some systems to really help kids, and more importantly, help those teachers just engage in those kids and inspire them.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Along the way, who were some of your key mentors that might have helped shape your leadership approach today?
Yeah, I talked about my mom.
Mhm.
She'll be very happy that I spoke about her.
Yes.
But my father, right? And so my father just passed away just recently, about a year ago. And this guy was the hardest worker I ever met. He was a carpet layer, and then he moved himself up to own a business, and he did all this stuff. But I remember him saying to me at one point in time is, you can't just tell people what to do. That doesn't work, right? And so he would work alongside others. And I think that his mentality was, we got to model the way and then release from that to get people inspired and want to go that direction. So that was one. I'd shout out to another guy, Antonio Escobar, which I do know you know too as well. Probably one of the best mentors I've had in regards to, okay, you can model the way, like my father would say, but in education specifically, here's how you turn around a school, right? And so him walking into Lincoln High School at one point in time, and I watched what he did. I watched how he changed the culture. And then I watched how he then narrowed down his focus and got a ton of improvement. And so him coaching me was probably one of the best things that really instilled in, yep, you can model the way, but here's how you do it in these details. And it was just beautiful to see him kind of lead me through that process.
Yeah.
I still reach out to him too.
Yeah, same. Shout out to Antonio.
That's right.
You talked already a little bit about what brought you to APS. Can you talk a little bit more about what drew you to Central?
Sure. Well, back to North Aurora, and then Central itself. I knew when I walked in, one of the things I was really excited about was the culture of that building, and so You walk around that building, you get kids that no matter who you are will introduce themselves and they'll say hi, and you get the staff to do that too as well. And so as I first entered in, it's like, this is the place where people care, right? And I think as a leader, that's what you want, right? You want people to care about one another so that you can move forward. And so that drew me initially to that space. That's first. Also, it's a large comprehensive high school, right? Sometimes people will say that draws people away from taking a position like that. But for me, it was like I saw the systems that some of the systems they had in place. So I was just really interested around how can we refine those to really have the biggest impact on individual kids. And so I knew that was my place. I had people that I knew there that was doing some great work. I also had people in this district that I knew that I could lean on and utilize for support.
Yeah. Well, I think next year as we hit improvement status twice or move into performance status, we'll break. I think at that time will be a 12-year on the clock timeline. So knowing sort of at least just from an accountability perspective, the state of Central when you arrived 4 years ago, what were your initial thoughts about how you would approach the work ahead?
Well, my initial thought was when I saw teachers teaching, they were teaching the content, which was great, right? And I knew that we may need to increase our expectations of what we're asking kids to do, right? And so as I observed, one of the things I knew we needed to focus on was the depthness of every standard that we present to students. And so that was a first challenge for me is the standard says this, we want kids to do this, but in tasks that we're asking kids to do didn't match that, right? And so that was the first challenge. And so we set up systems to where let's break apart the standard. Let's identify the knows and shows. Let's identify learning targets that will go with it. Let's identify tasks that will match that. And so that was the first challenge is, could we create a system where people believe that can happen? And then through our protocols and our systems that would help the belief to move us forward, right? And that's where I went first.
Love it. And it sort of feels a little bit like full circle in thinking about the letter that you sent last month to the community. You wrote about thanking the hard work, commitment, perseverance of students, staff, and families. And, just for our conversation, curious how you built that culture of commitment over the course of the last 4 years.
Well, I think in a large comprehensive high school, you could have 30 things that everybody thinks that we're doing, and they're all going 30 different ways, right? And so I think for me to build that commitment and that perseverance was, let's all narrow it down to some specifics, right? And so we created some goals and we laid out specifically what those goals are, and not just what the goals are, but what's the clarity around those. So I'm a teacher and you talk about this goal, where do I fit? If I'm an office staff, or if I'm a community member. And so first was goals, provide some clarity around that. Then we moved into some quick wins, right? Not rocket science here, but like, how can we celebrate the things that we're going or that are going well? And then we constantly celebrate it. And I know my staff, what they'll talk about is we do this good, better, best chant. Like we as a high school get into a circle and we say this, and then we talk about the celebrations that we have, and those milestones build, they build the confidence of the team and they build the group effort. Like we're all in this together. Yep. We just won this spelling bee. We just, our kids just got first place. That's going to be one of the next ones that we do. Right. It's, we just continue to celebrate that, which then builds in the community. And I'll be remiss to not talk about, we do the same celebrations with our community members, right? And so when our parent coffees are coming up, they all know what our goals are. They all have the clarity and they see how they fit within it all, which that's the commitment. That's the hard work. We're all buying in on it together.
I love that so much. I want to ask you my next question, because you already sort of spoke to, how you celebrate progress while maintaining those ambitious goals. But I do want to stamp that, like, y'all are super clear at Central about just being 5 points away from a performance rating. And, I don't know if you know this about our district performance framework, but we're about 9% percentage points away from being a performance rated district.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I guess anything that you might add to how you're getting, kids excited this semester about, doing their best and showing up every day and, earning those 5 points.
Yeah, it's so hard because our high school students, they have many other things happening in their world, and to get them to be excited about 5 points, it's tough. But what I can say is that we've narrowed down how we can get those specific 5 points, right? And really, it is all about individual kids. And so sometimes at a high school or even at classroom level, us as teachers will say, I taught my kids, right? And they're right. I taught the content. But here we are really going to hit our 5 points because we've taught every single individual student. And so shifting our focus around in a high school classroom with 150 kids, you have 5 sections and 30 each. Every day matters. Every time you have kids working, every single student needs feedback at least once during the lesson, right? And so we've really targeted that. And so our kids are being acknowledged differently now, instead of the things being done to them and they have to just buy in and do it. Now they're seeing, oh my gosh, they're telling me to do something and somebody's holding me accountable of that. And then they're coming back, right? And so I think being so precise in how we teach individual kids is a huge focus for us, which will help us get those 50 or those 5 points. And we've narrowed down specifically to target groups that we are going to spend time with. And I will add, one of the things that I do want to make sure that we talk about is the Aurora Central campus includes our Charles Burrell K-8 as well as the high school. And so mirroring what's happening in that K-12 trajectory is something that we are trying to hold true to, right? When we talk about arts integration at our K-8. And also we're doing some of that into our high school too as well. And so having all of that stay focused is how we're going to get those points.
Love it. How many points did you guys, how many more points did you guys get between the 24 SPF and the 25?
So as you know what, I don't know the actual number.
I don't know either off top, sorry.
But I like the question.
Because I think it's probably more than 5.
It probably is.
And that's the reason I'm asking you, because I think that I think it's more than 5, but I don't know off top. So we'll both have to look into it. And,
I know the elementary and middle school moved up really dramatically.
Totally.
Helped us,
So
the entire campus.
Cool. Okay, so you've experienced this firsthand, but leading a school through improvement requires sustained effort over multiple years. What leadership lessons have helped you to maintain the momentum and belief when progress wasn't always visible? And I think the SPF for high schools in particular, because of matriculation, on-time graduation, etc., that there's sort of a lagged, notification of how did we actually do last year. How do you maintain that momentum when it's not always visible?
I think the one, I don't even know how to, I want to answer this question in so many different ways, but I do want to make sure that people that are looking to become a leader or looking to see these successes that we've currently seen, that it doesn't fall on that one person. Right. And so as I'm sitting in this chair, just know I'm representing everybody in that building. And it's not even just that, right? Like I beg, I borrow, and I steal everything that I can to make sure that we are doing what's right for kids. And so that's the first strategy, right? Like lean on people. Right. And in a large organization, you have lots of people, but even outside of your organization, you have people. And so shout out to all high school principals that are continuing to work together to create systems. Shout out to my staff as they continue to refine what we're doing. And I think is what makes this great, right? So in the past, I can't speak to prior to me coming in, and I won't speak to that. But what I can say is for the first 4 years that I've been there, we've begged, we've borrowed, we've stolen, and we've refined our processes and not like ditched things. Like we're going to stay true to this. And our goals have stayed the same in the same areas, but we are just attaining and reaching at a higher level. And so I think that that's great. And in addition to that is when you have your goals, you have to celebrate the progress as you move forward. And I'm talking every quarter, every staff bulletin that gets sent out, we continue to refine that, celebrate the things we're doing, and also adjust, right? Because of the data.
Yep. Your letter that you sent out last month, you talked about that moving forward requires continuing to strengthen instruction, supporting student growth, and building meaningful family partnerships. How have you envisioned keeping everyone focused on those three priorities?
Yeah, we've thank goodness for the high school team, because we've kind of identified our big rocks, right? And so when we have those big rocks, and not just the school is trying to do X, Y, and Z, when you have multiple schools doing that, it helps, right? And I think that's been huge for us. And I know my staff understands these big rocks, and they see where they fit in. And that's even a horrible statement to even say, because that's probably not 100% true that everybody understands and everybody's on board. But what they do know is that the system supports that. And so they've got to get on board on that system, because it's going to work. But I do think that I believe in this, and I want to make sure that this is clear too, as I talk through this. There's nothing worse than being in an organization and never knowing how you're doing.
Yeah.
Right. And you just hope that one day you walk in and someone's like, "Oh man, you're doing a great job," or you hear something like you're not.
Right.
But we believe in a system of you're going to get feedback, right? And so every one of my staff members has me specifically give them feedback twice a year, one first semester, one second semester, which helps us align to our goals. It helps them refine what they're doing to match our goals. And it helps them get a good sense of where they're at. And that's not just me, right? I have my assistant principals, and I have our instructional coaches that are continuing to do that. And so as we think about sustained change, you have to see yourself in it, and you have to know where you're at often, right? And so that's been our focus, is giving feedback and making sure that everybody understands their purpose.
Awesome. What songs are in your most recently played list?
So I'm old school. You can tell by the gray hair, but I am a huge 90s hip hop. Like when we talk about, Tupac, right? Like, let's just go that realm. I'm a huge Dear Mama fan. I spoke about my mom earlier, right? And just that reality of like, you got to adjust and change. Life is bigger than just you, dude. Like you got to have more than that. So that's been a huge one for me. I won't give you the other 90s. Well, maybe give you one. So Montel Jordan, his This Is How We Do It, right? That's my walk-up song, because I'm constantly talking to people and modeling the way of like, this is how we're going to do it. We, not just you, but this is how we're doing it. And then on the side, I also, I'm even afraid to even say this, because I want to make sure that people, right? Like, I am a huge Greatest Showman musical, right? Everybody makes fun of me, but the reality is that when we talk about Million Dreams and these songs that they talk, this musical comes from the perspective of a father, from my opinion. And I sit there, and he makes these decisions and changes, all for the betterment of the people that he's serving. And my daughter, my wife, my son, they hate it, but I want to show it all the time because it is on. I'm constantly, when I'm running and doing other things like that, I am constantly listening to those, because it grounds me on who I am and what I do.
Yeah. Do you always listen to music when you run?
No, if I'm running on the treadmill, it's Netflix.
Cool.
Right. Sometimes some podcasts. Yeah. But when I'm running outside, I've got to have music on, and it's fast paced kind of things. So.
Cool. Well, are there any books or podcasts that you might recommend to any leaders out there listening?
Yeah, I mean, I think the one at the top of the mind now is I just was at UVA. We had just a lot of focus around driven by data, right? And I know that's the old cliche statement, but that's where the tools are. And when you heard my goals around individual students, making individual impact, this is where that is currently lies in how do you do those things? You can talk about a system and a structure, but there's some real life examples that I could put in front of people. And it's been eye-opening for me to say, wow, at some high schools, they're doing some of these things they're talking about. And I know before they didn't talk about high schools as much. And now that is the most recent. There's some more recent data in those, which I appreciate. So
cool. All right, we're going to move into our lightning rounds now.
Okay.
What does Destination APS mean to you and the Aurora Central community?
Well, and I think what I will say is APS, Destination APS, is the exact same thing as Destination Aurora Central High School or Charles Burrell, right? I want kids to come to my school.
Yeah.
And, whatever the stigma has been and is prior, that needs to go away, because whatever the belief about Central, it's not true. We have a newcomer program that is on fire, right? We're meeting the needs of individual students. Our support for MLLs is there. I talked about concurrent enrollment or CTE programs. Man, I can go on and on and on, but more importantly, we teach your kids here, right? And so that's what Destination APS means to me, is every individual, every parent needs to see that's where I want to go. And that doesn't start by saying we do this all whole group. No, we do it individualized.
Amazing. You ended that letter. I keep referencing. We'll have to link it in the when we promote the episode. But you ended that letter with onward and upward.
Yes.
What is next for Aurora Central?
Yeah. This good, better, best. Never let it rest till your good is better and your better is best. What's on the horizon for us is we're really good at our work right now. We're really precise. And as you can see, the scores are showing that we're getting better.
Totally.
We're getting
I saw y'all's on track,
right? Yeah, we're getting there.
First semester.
Yeah, we're growing.
Second
right?
quarter.
It's not the best, right? Let's be real, but we are seeing the systems we're doing is
But every grade level at Central, end of second quarter is better than a year ago's end of second quarter.
Yep. And that's exactly what it is. And so we are getting better, and our push is to get to be the best. And so I think we talked about it already, but we got to see the potential in our students and staff, and we got to tap into that. We got to just keep rising with our academic achievement. And that's exactly what we're doing.
Amazing. All right. Last question. What advice would you give to either current leaders facing similar improvement journeys, or aspiring leaders who are maybe considering, being a high school principal someday?
Yeah, I want to change the statement. There's so many of my colleagues and people that say go slow to go fast. And I agree to some point, right? And every time I hear that, I think, I don't know, if we would have gone slow, which I think Aurora Central may have done for a while, right? Like, we're not going slow anymore. What we've done is get to the details, right? So I think as an aspiring leader that's sitting down and thinking, okay, I've just got this school. I'm just going to start leading it. You're going to hear go slow to go fast. What that really means is slow down in your details. Get really clear about those details. Get really clear about the objectives. Get clear on how you're going to celebrate. Get clear about everybody's part. You do that. Then you message that out, and then you don't go slow anymore. Then you go fast, right? And you make sure everybody's on board, and you provide clarity around what you're doing. So I think the go slow, go fast is for you personally, but you don't have time. You got to move.
That's right. Yeah, I love that shift. Appreciate the urgency is there even at the beginning when you have to slow down for you to get into the details a little bit more.
That's for sure.
Yeah. Appreciate you, Kurtis. Thank you for sharing a little bit about your leadership journey with us today. Aurora Central's movement to improvement status after 15 years is a testament to what's possible when a leader refuses to accept limitations and believes deeply in students, staff, and community. Good, better, best. You're proving that progress is possible, and we're excited to see where y'all go next. Join us next time as we continue exploring the paths of those who are helping guide us toward Destination APS. Until then, keep running your race with purpose.